Hey guys, Josh Smith here, and today we're talking about why is my lawn different colors? We'll talk about some of the grassy weeds that stick out like a sore thumb and how you can go ahead and deal with those so that you'll have a nice, consistent, dark green looking turf. These are a few pictures of what my lawn looks like now, and for the most part, pretty consistent and dark green, but it really took a long time for me to get it this way. I had a bad infestation of grassy weeds, and it took almost a whole summer to get things transformed. Creeping bent grass was one of the biggest ones that I had to deal with. This is actually the type of grass that's used on putting greens of golf courses, but it is a huge grassy weed in cool season lawns because it has to be mown very, very short. It has a light green or a pale green color, and it just sticks out. One of the best things to do with creeping bent grass is just to kill it off. There's two good herbicides that will get it pretty good. One of them is called Tenacity. It's a selective herbicide, and if it's kind of mixed in with a little bit of good grass, you can spray the Tenacity, and it'll kill the bent grass without hurting the good grass. For the big patches where there's really no other good turf, you can just use Roundup or glyphosate, and it'll kill it off a lot faster. Poa annua or annual bluegrass is another very popular grassy weed. This again has a lighter green color, and it produces seed head very quick, so it can be easy to identify. The problem with this is it is constantly dropping seed head. Now, it dies in the summer because it is an annual weed, but if you just wait till the summertime for it to kill off, you've got it dropping seed before then, and then it'll germinate in the fall and become a problem the next year. The best thing to do for Poa annua is to put down pre-emergent herbicides, especially in the fall and spring, so that any of those seed heads that are there are unable to germinate. You can also spot spray it. There's a product called Poa Constrictor. It's kind of expensive. Another one that I have had some luck with is called Tenacity, and Poa annua is actually not on the label for Tenacity, but if you spray it enough times, I've got it to turn white and then die off. Poa trivialis or rough stalk bluegrass looks very similar to Poa annua. Again, the light green color, and it does produce some seed head on it. This one is even tougher because there's no selective herbicide that will kill Poa triv. So because of this, a lot of people have done complete lawn renovations just to eradicate this grassy weed. If you have Poa trivialis in your lawn, I would suggest killing it off with glyphosate before aerating and overseeding in the fall. Our next grassy weed is orchard grass. Now, this is found in some of the forage and grass mixes at farm supply stores. Farmers use this to produce hay and silage, but it's a grassy weed in lawns that sticks out and outgrows the rest of the desirable turf. Your best bet to control orchard grass is simply to pull it out and use good quality grass seeds that don't have an other crop in the mix. Nimblewill is actually a warm season grass that is found as a weed in many cool season grasses. It is often mistaken for common Bermuda or even creeping bent grass. It spreads aggressively with stolons and can take over in the summertime. Unfortunately, it goes dormant in the winter and even the early spring and will leave gray or brown patches in the lawn. Fortunately, though, Nimblewill can still be controlled by Tenacity. If you notice a bright green grass that outgrows the rest of the lawn, it might be nutsedge. Nutsedge is technically not a grass, but has some similar characteristics. After spring pre-emergence have worn off, you'll find this one coming up in the middle of the summertime. With underground growth through tubers, it is impossible to pull out by hand. You're best off using a post-emergent herbicide called halosulfuron. Quackgrass can be found in the weed seed in a lot of straw when seeding. It looks very similar to crabgrass, and some mistake it for even tall fescue. With creeping characteristics, it can sometimes be difficult to pull manually. Using a product like glyphosate will give you a quick, easy kill against this grassy weed. Clumping tall fescue, or Kentucky 31, is a pasture grass and an old, outdated lawn grass that really sticks out like a sore thumb. It has very wide blades to it and does not blend in with Kentucky bluegrass or perennial rye at all. Despite being obsolete, this one is still sold in a lot of the farm supply stores. It's sold in big 25 and 50 pound bags. Low prices often lure in consumers that are not quite informed of its poor characteristics. Because it is seeded along roadways and by neighboring properties, it can make its way over into your lawn. The best thing to do is to dig it out, pull it out, or in bad infestations, you may have to glyphosate. Crabgrass is the most popular grassy weed. So many products are designed to act as a pre-emergent to keep the seed from crabgrass from germinating in the first place. When this stuff takes over, it takes over very fast. Crabgrass germinates in the spring and then really takes over in the hot summer months. Because it likes the heat, you'll see it growing along sidewalks, driveways, and along the road. Fortunately, though, it's an annual weed and it will die in the winter. But if you continue to let it go, it'll drop a whole bunch of seed head and give you something to deal with next year. That's why it's very important to put down pre-emergence at the right time to prevent this from spreading. There's also a selective herbicide called quinclorac, which works relatively well at knocking out crabgrass that is already germinated. So we'll come into my shed here, and we'll show you some of these selective herbicides that'll knock out these grassy weeds. So we'll grab these right here and look at the active ingredient. All right, so first up here we have our tenacity. The active ingredient in it is mesotrione. This one controls the broadest amount of both broadleaf and grassy weeds. However, the downside is it bleaches everything white. So in order to eradicate a lot of this stuff, you're going to have to sacrifice maybe a month of a bleached lawn until the tenacity works and the good grass kind of grows out of it. You see, this is some of the bleaching that tenacity does, and it works very well, but you have to live with this sometimes for a few weeks until everything gets killed. Then this is the halosulfuron I was telling you about. This is more of a specialty product. It just kills nutsedge. Doesn't really kill much other than that. But nutsedge can be a tough one to kill. I bought this for about 17 bucks on thelawncarenut.com. I highly recommend that is a great place here to buy some stuff to kill nutsedge. There's also another brand name, it's called Sedgehammer, and that one works too. Then here's your Roundup, and this is the classic weed killing product, but this is a non-selective herbicide. So this will kill all the good grass and bad grass. So I only would use this if there's a bad infestation and you plan to reseed later. You can see the active ingredient is glyphosate. This one is a homeowner's product, so it doesn't have quite the high concentration, but it does work. Then there's a Roundup Precision Gel. I picked this up pretty cheap. It's basically the same thing, but if you have a small area where maybe you don't want to hurt the grass around it, you could try to put a spot treatment of this on. Then we also have this Weed Be Gone, and I'm not a big fan of this stuff, but it does have this quinclorac in it, and that will help kill crabgrass. I would say go ahead and buy a more highly concentrated quinclorac, because this just doesn't quite have the punch, but that's really your best option to control crabgrass. And a non-ionic surfactant is super important to add with just about any weed spraying mix, because it helps the product stick to the plant much better. It'll also make it waterproof in just a short period of time. This will make everything much more effective, and it will better your chances at killing off these grassy weeds. Prodiamine and dithiopyr are my two favorite pre-emergents. These are very effective. You can use these in the spring or the fall. The downside is you cannot really seed with these because it'll also prohibit the grass seed from growing. If you need to seed and put a pre-emergent down at the same time, consider a starter fertilizer that has mesotrione in it so that it'll allow the good grass to grow, but not the grassy weeds. Now, one last thing you can do to prevent grassy weeds in your lawn is to stop putting them in your lawn. Now, nobody means to do this, but you need to pay attention here. Okay, we look here at the seed, this is some Scott's perennial rye blend, and you'll see right here where it says weed seed, that's 01. That's not going to be grassy weeds. That's just going to be your broadleaf weeds. But you look there, and above it, it says other crop seed. That's 0.25, so 0.25% of this seed could be Poa annua, or Poa trivialis, or creeping bent grass, or something else. We go over here to this Jonathan Green's perennial rye, and the other crop seed in it is just 0.07. So that has, less than a third of the other crop seed that Scott's has. So people don't realize that when you seed your lawn, you're going to be putting some more weed seed back in, but the best blends have 0.00 or at least under 0.1% with other crop. Well, hey guys, I hope this helped. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'll do whatever I can to answer them. I really would appreciate it if you like and subscribe to the channel for more good tips on having an awesome lawn.